Debra Ann Mumm, host of the Be Real podcast. And I am excited and delighted to welcome to the show today Laura James, the lovely and talented Laura James, who is going completely unscripted, by the way.
For the first time in my life.
For the first time in your life?
No,
I find that hard to believe. Like, most of what we do is unscripted.
Very true.
Right. It's as things get dealt to you, you deal with them, right? You don't get to choose what other people are going to say. 95% is the statistic, Laura, of the things that are out of your control.
That's rough. That's rough, right? Yeah. I think life might be a little easier if it were scripted. It wouldn't be more fun and it wouldn't be more meaningful, but it might be easier.
Well, that's why people do the scripts. So, welcome, Laura James. For people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about like what you do, what you're doing in life with the work that you do in this world.
So I am an economic developer by trade. This is where I insert my obligatory joke that I always tell everyone. When I was a little girl, I dreamed of growing up and being an economic developer.
Really?
No, of course not. Like, no little girl ever in history has ever dreamed of that. It's the worst joke and the first joke. No, it's like not even a profession that most people know exists, I think.
What is that even?
Yeah, a lot of people think, oh, does that mean you build buildings? They think it's the same as being a developer. Completely not the same. So in my current role, I work for city government. I work for the city of Beaumont. You know, my job really is to help kind of hold the hands of the people who do build the buildings and start the businesses and get them through what can sometimes seem like endless city and government processes, whether they're at the city level or county level or state level or permits or licenses, all of that. Because it's a lot to put together. And then to add the fact that you're trying to start a business on top of all of that, putting all of those pieces together and being sort of that point of contact who's helping that person get over the finish line.
Interesting, through the process, huh?
Yeah.
Well, isn't it about also kind of luring bigger businesses into your
That's another part of it.
economic region?
That's another part of it, and we do everything from go to trade shows to develop marketing materials and just going out and doing, I'm not talking about my job here. I'm here on behalf of myself today, but going out and doing podcasts and TV spots and telling people why they ought to bring their business to your city. That's
those
all
podcasts where you know exactly what to say.
The ones with scripts. That's right.
Scripts.
Talking points.
And answers.
And they provide the questions ahead of time. Yeah, see. Sometimes I provide them the questions.
Oh, that makes it even easier.
Yeah.
Like a neat little package. That's not happening here today.
No neat packages today.
So you didn't want to do that when you were a little girl? Like what? The basic thing is like
I wanted to be a firefighter.
Really?
I did. Yeah. But every little kid, well, I shouldn't speak for every child everywhere in the world, but when you're little, what do you think? You think there are police officers and teachers and doctors and nurses and firefighters. Like, you don't know
but you're
of
a girl.
A lot of other professions. Oh, I know. Well, yes, in the most basic sense of the word, but
physiologically.
I don't always fit into the girl mold really well.
I hear you. I understand that.
I think that's how you and I first met and bonded, was because we both walked up to a cash bar at a lunchtime event and ordered a beer. And we were the only women in the entire room who did that. Every other woman had their glass of wine.
The only woman with a beer. Mm-hmm. So thank you for being a beer lover. I have another funny beer reel where I'll go to bars and ask people about their secret other lives and while we're having a beer, right?
Oh, I'm going to have to accidentally show up at a bar when you do that one sometime.
You never know.
I'm going to have to start going to bars.
You're going to have to start going to bars now. No, I was at the Women Leaders Forum mixer at our Red Barn last week, and Davis ordered a beer, and I felt like...
See, there's more of us out there.
Yeah. Such camaraderie because there was a lot of martinis and shit going on.
I was thinking about that, though, when you invited me to be on this podcast, and I knew it was about authenticity and being real. And I don't know if you remember this, but at the time I told you I used to order a beer but ask for a wine glass to put it in because I didn't want people to see me as this weird person who wasn't like every other woman in the room.
Oh, man.
And I stopped doing that
Yeah,
probably
drink your
not too
beer.
long before I met you. And I don't know, maybe that comes with age. Like you just sort of stop caring, or maybe you get more confident in just who you are. I don't really know what the triggers are or what the process is. But
One of the big questions that comes up every time is like, how do you do it anyway? Like if you're scared to do something, like how do you do it anyway? Or what is that final like motivating force? And we can't quantify it. Nobody knows. It's just like you just stop caring so much about being who you really are, like, or the opposite is what I meant to say. Like you start caring about being who you really are.
Right.
And like, so what if they don't like beer? That makes you stand out. Like that lady had a beer. Right?
yeah, I think if there were a way to take that, and I feel like for me, part of it has just definitely come with age. And you hear about that, the older you get, the less you kind of give a rat's patootie about what people think of you or whatever. And I think that if you could take that and infuse it into younger people so that they had that confidence and that self-awareness and that not really caring.
Yeah,
like,
well, exactly.
Boy, what power you could give them.
Well, I think, my first book is really geared for adults. Well, really for everybody, but I think like youth today faces some challenges that we didn't have to face growing up, and about how everything is so externally focused that we stop having, we're just like a shell, right? We stop having that interior, and that's how you can lose yourself in whatever the role is that you're playing in life. I know sometimes, well, like I remember your last job, there was one day when we were talking, and sometimes we have jobs where we can't say what we really feel. And we like how often you hold the cork down, and how that's really giving your power away in some cases.
I love that phrase, holding your cork down. I've never heard that before. But
when you can't
I'm
say
borrowing
that thing,
it.
and yeah,
hold
down the cork, hold up the mask, Okay,
this is going to reveal my age, but I'm on Facebook, so that automatically makes you old because young cool people aren't on Facebook. But it does have the feature where it feeds you memories from the past. And I was a stay-at-home mom for a number of years, about a dozen years,
Really?
and I was.
What did you do at home with this?
Raised kids.
Like homeschooling?
No, but I volunteered all the time. I volunteered every year that they were in school, at their school. All of their little friends, of course, thought I was the big sister, so I kept going back. There's that ego got fed quite plentifully. But when I get Facebook memories from those days and I see how open I was able to be, not worrying about being, and I was never offensive. I'm not that kind of person.
We can work on that.
We could. But I was just very overtly funny and open about it. And unrestrained, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. And boy, does that stop, if you're smart, when you get into kind of a professional role. It sort of has to, unless you're, I don't know, the president or something, and then you can just say whatever you want, apparently. But you sort of don't even realize sometimes that you're suppressing that. And so when I did realize that, I was like, ooh, that's a little part of myself that I miss.
Yeah.
I miss that.
Being funny. Because you're funny.
I tell people I'm funny. My husband tells me I'm funny, but he also has to say that.
He does?
Well, yeah.
To win your favor?
Yes, that's right. Happy wife,
That's
happy
crazy.
life, yada, yada, yada. Yeah.
Auburn girl, you...
War Eagle.
You just signed up straight out of childhood for economic development, and no.
I mean, do you really want to hear like the
Just
windy path?
How did you end up at this job in the city of Beaumont.
It was a pretty windy path.
And then stay-at-home mom. I didn't know that.
I didn't know you didn't know that. So I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio. Midwestern grew up, but I've been in Southern California really basically my whole adult life. So I've been out here longer than I was in my hometown, which is always weird to think about because it still feels like home back there. But I originally moved out here because I married into the military. And he's my ex-husband now. We're still great friends. But he was stationed in 29 Palms. And so moved out here, lived in 29 Palms. That's why I was a stay-at-home mom, because there was really no job in 29 Palms that was worth leaving kids with a sitter all day for, because
I hear that. Yeah, you could maybe make enough to pay for the sitter while you were out waiting the tables or any of those other 29 Palms jobs.
Exactly. So that was why I did that. But after we got divorced, obviously, hard to be a stay-at-home mom after something like that, unless you happen to have, an ex who owns a baseball team or something. So I immediately went back to school, finished my undergraduate degree in education. I chose education not necessarily because that's what I wanted to do, but because I knew that if I was staying there, I would have to work at the school district unless I wanted to work at the grocery store. Those were kind of the options at the time.
Wow.
The largest employers were the Marine Base, the school district, and Stater Brothers.
Stater Brothers.
Yeah, think about it. Now it's changed since then. Now the casino, I think, employs more people than Stater Brothers, but I don't know.
More people gamble than eat.
You can do both, I think, at the casino. Right. So, yay.
That's interesting. Not the hospital or... is there a hospital there?
No, there's the Naval Hospital on the base.
Wow.
But there is not a hospital in 29.
So just be careful.
So be careful. I mean, you've got one in Joshua Tree. It's not too far away, part of the Desert Care Network. So we know them well. So yeah, that's kind of what pushed me into education. But even with that degree, it was difficult to get full-time employment with the school district until I had completed my, student teaching and all of that. I passed all the exams that I had to take, but there was still just this little bit of a hurdle that I didn't have the financial safety net in order to get to that next level. And so I started looking for just whatever full-time work I could find. Because by this point, I was working for the school district part-time, 3 hours a day. That's how they do it, so they don't have to pay anyone any benefits.
Yeah, it's popular.
Gotta love it. You can't pay rent, but at least they don't have to pay you benefits,
And, you can have 10 jobs. It's fine.
That's exactly right. None with benefits. That's when I found CVEP.
Okay. CVEP, for people that don't know, is?
The Coachella Valley Economic Partnership. So that meant commuting from 29 Palms to Palm Springs every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dedication.
But it was full-time. It was with benefits, and it was with a fantastic team and a really fantastic mission.
Interesting.
It was interesting work. This was the path that little 8-year-old girl never knew she was going to get on to become an economic developer. And I originally started there just as an administrative assistant. They heard that I had volunteered for the 29 Palms Historical Society and knew I was the board secretary, so I knew how to take minutes. And that's literally what got me my job. They're like, oh, we would love to give that job to someone because everyone here hates doing it. So they hired me. And, eventually, yada, 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 11 or so years later, I was running the place before I left.
Economic developer.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So you didn't see it coming?
No, like a ton of bricks. Yeah.
That's so interesting. I mean, I didn't see a lot of my life coming, so it shouldn't come as a surprise, right? That it's not like that
It's because we don't get a script. I'm telling you.
No, that's why we have to write our script. So, yeah. I mean, you've recently changed from CVEP to this new position in city government. And before we were on camera, you said it's kind of a step down.
I was worried that people would perceive it as such. That was the number one thing that held me back.
What about you?
I took that into less consideration than what other people would think. Here I am saying that on the Be Real podcast.
Well, you're being
isn't
real.
That terrible?
No, I mean, you're not alone. We're placing so much value on everything external or how things look. And instead of like what really makes us happy and what we enjoy, what we want to do. So that's so real. You're winning. You're winning this podcast without a script even.
Awesome. And I feel like I'm winning just, I can't say that. I can't even make the words say I'm winning at life because that just sounds so terrible.
No,
but
it's great.
What I mean really to say is that like I didn't even know what a great decision I was making until after I made it. Like I did it kind of I had some trepidation.
So it felt scary.
It felt really scary, especially after so long at the same place, and a place that had really nurtured me and had expanded my network. I mean, I had no network at all when I came to the Coachella Valley. None. What's
network?
Yeah.
What is that?
I know. This like group of people that I meet at events drinking beer.
I can't believe that's how we met drinking beer. That's really great.
I am pretty sure that's the first time that we met. I think it was at
Women Leaders.
Maybe it was.
Well, I don't know. Like, because you invited me to a lunch thing, and I saw you there, but I had to know you before that. Anyway.
Yeah. We could go on.
Yeah. So you took a demotion. No, I'm just kidding. Like
on paper, a demotion. In all other ways, though, like what an elevation it has been. It's.
You know, and freedom.
I tell people this, going from being, it sounds great to be the CEO, but it's an organization of, 4 people. So it's not like I'm presiding over some.
Well, you had a huge
great
board.
Empire. We had a large board. We did.
That's in and of itself like. So anybody that works in any kind of nonprofit situation, hats off, because it's a business and then it's a circus sideshow of fundraising, of your board of directors and all the other things that go along with it. So I mean, to be the CEO of CVEP if CVEP was just a business and without all that other stuff that you have to deal with, anybody that works in nonprofit industry, hats off. Yeah,
I told a lot of people sort of exactly that when I left, when I made that change. I said, if you have people in your life, and everyone does, especially in the Valley, there are so many nonprofits doing so much good work. But if you have people in your life who are running a nonprofit, like reach out to them, just extend a hand, because I promise you that they are struggling. And even the ones that appear to be very successful, especially when you talk about, everyone, every business, every person, every household struggles with things like inflation and all of that. But what happens to nonprofits during these inflationary periods is their donors, right, pull back a little bit. They're not doing it to be mean, but they're realizing that they are trying to stretch dollars too. But the people who work for nonprofits, they can't necessarily continue to pay their bills if
and grants are drying up. Like the food bank's not getting food. I don't know. It's crazy times. We're in a really weird world, which is why I think it's so important for us to get real, to be real, and find the love. We have all this war and hate and fear and scarcity mindset when really there are a lot of good things going on in the world. There's a lot of good things happening in Beaumont.
There are.
I see, there's some concerts.
I can't even. Oh my gosh! Yeah.
It seems like my grandparents used to have a house there a long time ago. But to have that inner peace in your whatever it is that you're doing, and not go to work every day feeling conflicted or hating it or not being able to be who you are. Yeah. I think it's a super challenge that everyone faces, and you're not alone. Because if you're thinking it's a demotion, are you also thinking, for my next job, right? Like I don't want to go down, and because there could be bigger opportunity. I mean, did you want bigger opportunities? Take over the world?
During this, no, I do not want to take over the world.
It's so big.
And I'm. My husband and I both work in local government. He's a city manager, ironically, in 29 Palms.
It's so crazy.
How the tides have turned. So many people kind of, I think, jokingly say to me, "Oh, you'll be the next city manager somewhere." And I'm, oh my gosh, no desire.
No desire?
No, I think those are positions, they're compensated well, but when you look at the hourly rate of being basically on call 24 hours a day, that's rough.
You might as well go back to the nonprofit world, right?
It is rough. And I admire my husband for doing it. I admire the city manager in Beaumont where I work for doing it and maintaining any degree of sanity, because the expectation, it's much like being a CEO, but the expectations on a public servant are just astronomically
As they
higher.
should be. I think it should be high.
Well,
like we should have high
expectations
expectations of public servants.
But I think we also our expectations are often so high that we forget that they're also human beings.
Oh,
who
are they
have
people?
Family. Yeah, they have. Sometimes they take vacations or even weekends away. It's crazy. I know. Yeah. So high expectations, good. Ridiculous Superman expectations maybe could be ratcheted down just a little
Well,
bit.
and that's another thing. Like we're trying to wear the cape and show up and perform and do all the things and get all the accolades and win all the and then who are you?
When do we stop all of that?
So what do you do for you?
I do love hiking. I love hanging out with my dogs. I have two.
They hike with you?
Not so much. They're a little rambunctious.
Gotcha.
Little rambunctious. They're big dogs, big Labradors. In total, I think it's about 190 pounds of dog.
It's a lot of dog.
Yeah, it's a lot. Going to concerts and college sports are like my obsessions. And then my solo, don't bother me downtime as I do my nails, usually Sunday night, kind of my reset before Monday morning. Yeah,
I was going to throw that reset word in there because, as you know, that's part of the title for my new book.
That is my reset. That has been my reset for the last probably 30 years.
Like self-care, nails, and...
That's it. I'm not a mud mask girl.
No bubble bath.
No, gosh, no. No.
That's not happening. Oh, how dare you?
Not a bubble bath girl. That sounds too girly for me, but for some reason doing my nails doesn't. I don't know. I can't explain it. Don't ask me to.
That's funny. That's really funny. So, like, when you had to make that decision to how do you know it's the right decision? How do you like get out of your head, make the space to connect with the real deep Laura that knows what she truly wants and desires, and not like the monkey mind Laura?
It's difficult. I'm going to give my husband an awful lot of credit on this one.
Wow.
He and I don't always give him the credit that he
I know. I feel like you guys are kind of competitive.
We are. We're always duking it out. No, and we've all heard the Mars and Venus, right?
Yeah.
Mars gives advice where Venus just wants to be heard and whatever.
Oh.
And he was so good. He listened. He asked what kind of support I needed in making this decision. He didn't try and tell me what to. That's like the last thing you ever want to do is tell me what to do, because then I will turn around and do the opposite thing just immediately.
How well has that served you?
50-50. Yeah. But he was wonderful in helping me just kind of calmly think about things. And I mean, we were making little spreadsheets and little diagrams and little, what if, and how do we manage the kids if you're working out of town, and how do we do this, and what about the dogs during the day, and just kind of thinking through every little tidbit of like logistical life stuff that we had to think about before I did this. But once he helped me get past that, then it was all gut. And I am definitely a person who, like, when something feels right, and it's not about something that feels good. There's a difference between
true.
Ooh, that feels good, that sounds great, that sounds fun. I don't know if everyone has the intuition or if women have the intuition, but I know that I have an intuition that when my gut tells me this is the right thing, listen to it, do it. And it has, I'm going to say, basically, that has never failed me.
But you have to listen.
I do have to listen. But yeah.
So what does it take? What is like? You listen while you're hiking. You listen while you're doing your nails. Like, how do you know?
All of the above.
All of the above.
All of the above. Yeah,
It takes some quiet time and some space.
Just a part. Yeah, it finds ways to nag you and tell you and give you signs, and I can't, if
especially if you're not listening,
yeah, especially if you're not listening, like, oh, there's a butterfly or whatever.
I used to say I don't take subtle hints from the universe very well, but now I say up until now because, I'm more willing to listen to the more subtle nuances than I used to be. It doesn't have to beat me over the head anymore.
Be an actual lightning bolt anymore.
No. I mean, because really the whole reason that you're sitting here today is because it feels like the right thing to do. I know there's someone out there that is going to listen to this and they're going to identify and they're going to say, I can overcome this thing, or I can change my job, or I can do that uncomfortable thing. I mean, even if it doesn't seem like what everybody else would like or how I think it should look.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what this is all about. It doesn't make logical sense, and I really like for things to make logical sense. Oh, yeah. But I think the best things don't a lot of times. It has nothing to do with the things that your brain tells you. So the seek part, seeking the truth, all of those self-limiting beliefs and those underlying thoughts that came from childhood or upbringing, they're hard to get rid of. But first you have to even know that they're there.
You do.
In the first place, because 70% of our negative thinking goes undetected by us.
That's rough.
So, think about it. Some things you don't want to have to learn over again. I don't want to have to learn how to use a doorknob over again. Once I know how to open the door, then you don't, it's kind of like an automatic response. And I don't want to have to relearn that every time I come to a door. What is this?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things like that. But our playing small becomes a conditioned response, or to please other people, or how things look, and then we don't even know that we're doing that. And I'm so guilty of that at times.
I think we all are, and I don't know how hard. How much plasticity do we have with unlearning some of that kind of stuff? I don't know. I think there's a reason people go to therapy and group sessions, and there's a reason that people work out real hard to, burn off emotions or whatever, or maybe burn off stress. I don't know that you want to burn off your emotions. Oh yeah.
Burn off the emotions.
How we kind of unlearn some of maybe the habits that we've carried with us from childhood or from whatever experiences. I think early adulthood has some weird experiences too, right? And I think we can learn to deal with some of that. Maybe it's not getting rid of it entirely. Maybe it's certainly not just suppressing it, but how do we use it to our advantage to actually learn through something and then be way better?
Yeah, it's all those parts of ourselves. I notice, do you do journaling at all?
A little bit.
Yeah.
And every time I do it, I feel like it's a really good experience, and then I don't do it.
Fairly religious about it.
Are you?
And yeah, it was interesting. Cindy does it every day. Katie does it every day. Melanie doesn't do it. But my guests so far, journaling is what I talk about and remember is remember how do you have that dialogue with yourself, right? And sometimes things come out and you're it's really interesting to.
Do you ever go way back and look, or is it more about getting it out?
No, it's more about just getting it out, having that connection. But one of the things I noticed is for a long time, I would always be you got this, you got this. So it's this other voice is supporting me. And now, more recently, I'm I got this. I'm doing this, right? So I don't know if that's egotistical or whatever, but it's, those different aspects of our personality, they all want the best for us. And some of us, some of them hold you back, right? They're trying to keep you safe. And that's what your brain wants to do. You didn't die doing these other things. So we're going to keep doing this, even if it's crappy. We're going to do this even if it's crappy because you didn't die. And it's perfect.
That's horrible.
So more to the point is like, we know who we are in that role. When you step out of the role or out of the cage of that role and you don't know who you are, there's a lot of discomfort in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think changing careers is one of those times, right? Like there are a lot of big roles that we have in life, but that's been the most interesting thing, I think, for me, is that by shedding, because running CVEP was a big role.
You were crazy to take that job.
Yes. That was one of the most recent 2 times in my life that I journaled was when I was about to take that job and when I was about to leave that job.
Oh, interesting.
And prior to that, it had probably been 10 years since I journaled. So,
well, highly recommend, but there's other ways to like get in touch with yourself, right? And then, so you have just a new job. Does your vision for the future mostly focus around that? Or do you have big dreams and aspirations or other things like bucket list, like a vision, or are we just doing like the day-to-day life stuff?
I tend to be more day-to-day life stuff, which is a little boring sometimes, and not, which isn't to say I don't have aspirations, but I used to have more defined aspirations as far as career and things like that. And it's like the older I get, the more sort of laser focused that they become. Like, gosh, yes, I want to retire someday, Yay, I'm so jealous of all my friends who get to retire. Everything begins to turn back towards people and relationships and my family. And that's a little bit of a part of myself that got neglected. When you're working 14 hours a day or whatever, you don't get to invest very much time in those relationships. And whenever my husband and I talk about the future, it's like, gosh, I would like to be closer to my people. I've been far away from them for a very long time.
So
hopefully I don't need to be next door.
It's good to have an hour drive, I think, between
I tell him I would like, because right now we're like a day's flight away. I would like to be a day's drive away.
That's nice.
That's easier to kind of wing it if something comes up and you need to, get to see somebody quickly or whatever.
No, I love that. The freedom to be able to...
That opens up a lot of the country still, as a possibility. That's several years down the road because we've got a sophomore in high school still. So we're not going to up and move yet.
That's not very...
It's not far.
No.
Just yesterday, it was 5 years away. Now it's like 3 years away. And which is not to say that we're going to pick up and move in 3 years. It'll kind of just depend on how thrilled we are professionally and
things happen.
Yeah, you don't know.
Like I feel retired now. I feel like.
So I'm jealous of you now too.
No, cool. Don't be. I mean, it's sort of, there's not a lot of certainty in what I'm doing at the moment. And that's a little disconcerting, but it doesn't feel, it feels like the right thing. I feel like I've been podcasting forever,
Wow.
And, well, don't you, now that you've been here for...
yes, forever and ever.
No, I just... I know that taking it beyond the comfort of the 4 walls and the thing that I've known for my whole adult life, like the thing that gets me fired up is when somebody has that spark, right? Or that idea. So for you, I know that you're funny, and it surprises me that there are no aspirations there for your funniness to be on public view. I'm going to work on that. You and Connie Golds, you should be on the stand-up stage.
That's fair. I guess I said I'm not much of a bucket list person, but I guess that's things you want to do before you die. I guess there are things that I want to do before I die.
There's places that you want to travel.
I would love to do stand-up one time. People can throw tomatoes at me. I don't, whatever.
We're going to make that happen. You said it here.
Okay, but don't throw the tomatoes. Let individuals outside of our
not even the
circle
cherry
decide-
grape tomatoes.
Okay, that would actually be really funny. That would probably go viral, and we'd get sponsors. It'd be cool.
Yeah, there you go. I think I would pay to see that. Absolutely. Because, like, I think dreams matter, and getting weighted down in the daily life, sort of forgetting what lights you up. The little girl wanted to be a fireman, so that's helping people, right?
Yeah.
Or was it the boots, or
It was probably the hat.
The hat.
To be honest. Yeah.
yeah, they have good hats. It's how it looks on the outside.
Firefighters are really good marketers. You know, they have their, for real, I'm being serious. Okay. They have their pancake breakfasts, right? They do touch a truck nights, and
What?
there are times when, you know, they'll bring a fire truck out, and kids can come and, you know, make the siren do its thing and beep the horn or climb on the ladder or whatever. And so kids are learning from a very early age, like, ooh, this is a career path. So I either want to, you know, donate to the firefighters fund, or, you know, whatever fundraiser they're having, or I want to be one when I grow up. And I tell you that the reason I wanted to be a firefighter, I am certain, is because we went to some silly event somewhere, and they gave us a plastic, you know, cheap, flimsy, like the old Halloween masks from when we were kids. It was like that kind of crinkly plastic. The red hat. And that was what did it for me. So I'm telling you, they're great marketers.
Who knew? I never would have thought about firemen as being great marketers.
Recruiting technique.
So
I'm going to do that for economic development. We'll go out and give out little golden shovels to people.
the groundbreaking shovels. That's so funny. So how do you, like, once you made that decision, like, where do you find your faith? How do you trust in the process of life?
It's the gut. Yeah, it's really the gut. I mean, if my gut and my instincts told me to do something that would be detrimental to my family, my husband, my kids, even my dogs, like, or my finances even, like, I'm not dumb enough to follow my gut down a path that would hurt any of those things. But as long as all of that lines up, like, I'm good. The
things that really matter to you, as long as those are accounted for.
Yeah. And it's probably both the curse and the blessing of being a mom, especially, is you sort of tend to put your own maybe happiness or mojo last, right? Make sure things are lined up for the kids and the spouse, if there is one, and whatever.
Yeah, we watch what he likes on TV.
No, I'm not.
No.
I'm a little more selfish in that department.
Perfect. Yeah. Do you have different sports teams?
We do.
Oh, man, you're competitive in more than one area.
He's a USC guy.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I know.
Yeah, I see how it is now.
And I try and cover all my bases. So, you know, my Auburn Tigers cover me during basketball season, and Ohio State Buckeyes cover me during football season. So I'm good most of the year. I'm feeling pretty good about my team.
In pajamas for the weekend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that. So, Laura James, any final thoughts about being real, or what it takes to be real, or advice for those listening on how to just have the beer in the normal beer glass? Or
Yes. Okay. So I think you might have even touched on this a little bit earlier, and I've thought about this in all kinds of little, again, you know, worrying about what people think, and, you know, because for a while I wore contact lenses, and they're hard to wear in the desert. It's rough.
Yeah.
You know, it's dry. For those who don't know, if you're listening from somewhere
it's dry,
far away,
and we have a lot of particulate matter in the air.
Particulate matter, and it's dry, and it's hot. And at this time of year, you know, during the summer, you walk outside, and it's like opening your oven. It's very bad. It's very bad.
And bad for contacts.
Bad for contacts.
But you did it.
And so...
Because you didn't like glasses?
Well, no, because I wanted to be cute with, you know, and I even have family members who have said, oh, you look so much better without your glasses. Thanks.
Wow.
Not my immediate family, bless them. But finally, I just thought, you know what, I'll just make it like my trademark, even though I kind of hate them too. But whatever. Nobody else needs to know that it's not the trademark that I would have chosen for myself.
No, it would be the fireman's hat.
It would be totally, yeah. If you ever see one, if you're out thrifting or whatever, like a really cool, crinkly plastic fireman's hat.
I could see you like every Halloween just getting it on. Yeah. I'm going to build you like a cardboard fire truck.
That would be so cool. Like the kind that I can wear.
Yeah, that it holds.
Yeah, then I would do it too.
That would be a project for me.
That would be sort of the antithesis of the typical female Halloween costume, right? Like
it would,
because you have to be the sexy firefighter.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. I'd rather wear the box. That sounds because that's going to be my trademark. We'll bring that back. The big boxy Halloween.
It could take up a lot of room in your garage, though.
I could make a new one each year.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Have a contest.
But yeah, so thinking about that and just recognizing that, you take whatever that quirk is, that thing that maybe makes you feel different than everybody else, and make it your thing.
Make it your thing. That thing that lights you up inside, that's going to give you energy in life, right?
Amen. Amen to that.
Amen to that. All right. Well, I think this concludes our conversation on Be Real. And I'm so grateful, Laura, for you to come here unscripted and be with us today and talk about the hard things.
I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks so much. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Till next time.